Look, she's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to Congress, and she proves that every day.
Elon Musk's government efficiency team might soon be able to see the personal and financial information of millions of Americans.
Well, it's actually happening. The IRS is officially being investigated by the Department of Government Efficiency, and a lot of people are very upset about this. We have a ton of new meltdowns surrounding this, and also people are trying to connect the plane crash in Canada to Donald Trump. We are going to go over all of these meltdowns. Now, before we start this video, please like the video. It's the #1 way you can help this channel, and it also helps other people see the video as well. Let us begin.
The system holds data so sensitive that punishment for improper use could lead to prison time.
There are Democratic senators who are sounding the alarm on this. This could be one more example of a legal case here. But if the access is granted, the question is what happens with that things. But it's a particular software that the IRS has that has access to the IRS filings, access to the data that Americans have.
Alright, this is why I love making these videos, because you're not going to see this in the mainstream media. U.S. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat out of Pennsylvania, you guys all know him, he wrote on X, "I want to save billions of your money and make our government more efficient. Rummaging through your personal crap," but he actually said the bad word, "is not that. A party of chaos loses always." Now, of course, Elon Musk responded. He said, "Bruh, if I wanted to rummage through random personal crap, I could have done that at PayPal. Hello? Having tens of millions of people marked in Social Security as alive when they are definitely dead is a huge problem." And Elon Musk showed that in Social Security, you have people living well over 100 years old who are still quote-unquote alive. Somebody in the comments wrote, George Washington is still receiving Social Security. So this is sort of what's going on right now behind the scenes outside of mainstream media. You have a ton of people hating on Elon Musk, and the narrative is, well, he's looking into all of our personal stuff. Elon Musk posts the receipt. Look, there are people who are 369 years old. Of course I need to look into at least the IRS to see if there's any other bad things happening as far as non-efficient work happening within the IRS.
President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments.
So we always identify what the new trend is as far as going after Elon Musk on this channel, and right now it's definitely Elon has way too much access into our personal information, our tax returns, our Social Security data, and Elon Musk, we don't know what he's going to do with it, and the Doge team. So pay attention to this narrative, because a lot of people are very upset about it, but a lot of people also support it. Let's continue.
And yet, as you know, there has been this talk about maybe staff cuts at the FAA as a part of President Trump's effort to trim down the federal workforce. And yet, as you also know, the FAA has been complaining for years that they are understaffed in critical job positions.
You guys can leave your comments down below how you feel about all of this, but to me, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever covered on this channel. You have an NBC News reporter talking about Donald Trump, even though this plane crash happened in Toronto, Canada, under Canadian Airspace Authority and workers. I don't know why he even attempted to do that, and also, on the screen, you have the plane tipped over as well for dramatic effect. Let me know how you guys feel about that.
There are 45,000 employees at the FAA. We're talking about fewer than 400 people, and he says 0 air traffic controllers and critical safety personnel were let go. So if that's true, I don't really have a problem with it, to be honest with you. I do like the idea of keeping the people who are in the direct chain of command of safety and the air traffic control system and so on and so forth. But I have a hard time believing that there is a single government agency that doesn't have a bloat of administrative personnel that we could probably do without. And I think that's why a lot of voters are happy that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are finally going through the federal government and trying to take out some of this bureaucracy that we probably just don't need. So I'm reading to you what Sean Duffy says. He's the Secretary of the Transportation. I have no reason to doubt his numbers.
Okay, so when it comes to this plane crash in Canada, you have a lot of different narratives. Some people are straight up saying this is Donald Trump's fault. Then you have some people saying or alluding to this could potentially have been Donald Trump's fault. But then you also have people like Scott Jennings saying, look, nobody from air traffic control has been fired. Also, this crash happened in Canada. What are we talking about here, folks?
Look, she's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to Congress, and she proves that every day. And look, bottom line is, I can't believe any member of Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent, would want to educate criminal illegal aliens who are in the country illegally, been convicted of a violent crime, and have been ordered removed by an immigration judge after due process at great taxpayer expense.
The drama continues between Tom Homan, the border czar, and Congresswoman AOC. Essentially, Tom Homan has once again requested the Department of Justice to look into and investigate AOC for potentially impeding on ICE, deportations, etc. Essentially, if you are unaware, AOC posted a series of videos educating illegal immigrants on their quote-unquote rights. She is absolutely right, by the way. If you are an illegal immigrant and you come in this country, you do have rights, but where the gray area is, if you are giving illegal immigrants their rights and helping them evade ICE, would that be an impediment on investigation? According to Tom Homan, yes it is. You guys can let me know how you feel about all of this, but the feud continues.
Just wants to educate people how to evade law enforcement. You can claim you're educating those constitutional rights. Okay, you can keep that claim. What she in fact is doing, telling people don't open your door, hide in your home, don't talk to ICE. We're talking about people who are in the country illegally, committed a crime, they're a public safety threat, they've been convicted of serious crime, and they've been ordered removed by a federal judge. So it's like AOC and others don't want ICE to enforce the laws that they enacted. She's a member of Congress. Let us enforce the laws you enacted. That's what we're supposed to do.
And just a quick piece of education, you now have the city of Boston, the police force saying we are not going to help out ICE. So you have sanctuary cities and certain police forces who are straight up not helping ICE. So we are getting into some murky and muddy waters, and I talked about this on the channel before. Eventually, a mayor, a police commissioner, somebody who's prominent within the government or a community is probably going to get prosecuted and used as an example to not get in the way of these ICE raids and investigations.
I would actually, you know what? I'd just like you to show that you give a damn, that you got a little emotion about the fact that people are losing their jobs indiscriminately, that this individual sitting down the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has given absolute power to one man who brings his son into the Oval Office, whose son says to him, "You're not the president. You shouldn't be in that chair." Now, where did he get that from? He got it from his daddy.
Now look, believe it or not, I can actually understand and see why getting fired is a really big deal and why on MSNBC they are freaking out. But one thing MSNBC is not talking about, to give you guys the full context, an 8-month severance package is being given to people who are being let go of your salary. So that's a pretty decent cushion and deal to not have to work. But again, I can see the frustration. However, I am not going to give credit to MSNBC for hating on little Elon X and, you know, hating on a child on national television, but I wouldn't expect anything less from MSNBC. I keep saying it on my YouTube channel. I want them to do better. I want them to be a good news organization, but they always have some very wild takes.
All right, so the headline here is presidential historian says President's Day is ridiculous. We should scrap it. What do you mean?
It is a little bit silly. I mean, we have had some real duds, so I'm not sure we really want to be celebrating all presidents. And the tradition actually comes from celebrating birthdays, which is a celebration that we inherited from celebrating the king. And I'm just not sure that that's exactly what we want. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we necessarily want to celebrate the people. I think that we want to have a certain respect for the office. I totally get that.
Again, every so often, MSNBC has these really, really wild takes, and I have to show it to you guys because that's kind of my job, and that's what we're doing here. And if you are still watching this video, I really appreciate it. But yeah, according to MSNBC, and we are all entitled to our own opinion, maybe we should get rid of President's Day? You guys can let me know how you feel about that. All right, so it's official. U.S. Special Forces have been granted the green light to train with the Mexican military, specifically the Mexican Marines. Now, this is a big deal because for anybody who knows military history, and I've been covering the cartel for a very long time now, before I started doing politics, essentially, there's always been this notion of potentially utilizing U.S. Special Forces, specifically 7th Group, going into Latin America and taking out the cartel. Well, it looks like we are getting closer to that. Now, again, this is very, very fresh news. However, this is all extremely relevant considering the Director of Homeland Security just dropped this.
I'm Christine Ohm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump, for securing our border and putting America first. Let me deliver a message from President Trump to the world. If you are considering entering America illegally, don't even think about it. Let me be clear. If you come to our country and you break our laws, we will hunt you down. Criminals are not welcome in the United States. For too long, weak leadership has left our borders wide open, flooding our communities with drugs, human trafficking, and violent criminals. Well, those days are over. Under President Trump, we are defending American families and restoring their safety. If you try to enter illegally, you will be caught, you will be removed, and you will never return. Follow the law, and you'll find opportunity. If you break it, you'll find consequences. Strong borders mean a stronger America. President Trump is making America safe again.
Now look, I know Special Forces are with the DoD, they're not Homeland Security, but as far as border security and control, the DoD and Homeland Security are working very, very close together. In fact, when you look at open source, you can even see some drones flying around, some fuel tankers, a lot more military activity. So the fact that we now have boots on the ground in Mexico, U.S. Special Forces, I know they are not fully engaging the cartel members, that's what we're being told. However, this is what U.S. Special Forces are meant to do. They are meant to train militias so that those groups will be friends with the United States, and eventually we can take over if we have to.
So the San Diego NGO says its shelter has had not a single migrant walk through its door since President Trump took office. They're now closing that shelter down and laying off more than 100 employees, they say, because of Trump's border policies and his ending of their federal funding. Jewish Family Service San Diego has been running a rapid response migrant shelter that offered migrants care packages, food, legal services, travel coordination, medical screenings, and immigration case management. FEMA records show they had been allocated $22 million last year, but the NGO says they've received none of that money. Jewish Family Service San Diego points the finger at President Trump, saying in part, quote, with migrants no longer able to use the CBP-1 application, the shelter has not received new families and individuals released from short-term federal custody.
So just a simple observation and looking at the statistics, the border crossings are as low as they've ever been since 60 years ago. So they are extremely low. And you have help centers not even receiving any more illegal immigrants. So it looks like Donald Trump and his organization, they've at least figured this part out. However, internally within the United States, ICE is having their own problems. Tom Homan is not happy with the numbers, and neither is Donald Trump. We've talked about it before on this channel. Mathematically speaking, they will get nowhere close to the number they want deported from the country unless they can figure out some legal things.
Number two, the reason that they're moving fast is because momentum begets momentum. Trump created tremendous political momentum for this kind of change by winning the national popular vote and a real mandate in the Electoral College. He extended the momentum by having a really good transition. And of course, his first 3+ weeks in office, he's continued that. And so momentum begets momentum. And the polling is pretty clear. The American people like what he's doing. There was some focus group reports in Axios this morning. Swing state voters in Arizona were saying, yeah, we like the idea of cutting the federal government. We like the idea of what Trump is doing, and we're willing to give him some space to do it. So the reason you move fast is because you have a mandate to move fast and because it's the fulfillment of campaign promises. I think in Washington, it's all too common to talk big during a campaign, get into office, things slow down, things get on the back burner, and then 4 years later you say, well, gosh, sorry, we never got around to that. That's obviously not what Trump and Musk are doing this time. And I think the American people quite like a politician who's willing to keep their promises on day one instead of putting them off until, whoop, it's too late.
All right, so I really love what Scott Jennings said, because one thing I do on this channel is I try to find the new narrative for you guys to look into. And right now, across the board, the common theme is there is not enough time to process what is actually happening. When a news story says something like, well, Donald Trump may have something to do with the plane crash, you have Donald Trump and Doge going after the IRS and Social Security. So even the media cannot keep up of what they're going to report on as far as Donald Trump, whether positive or negative, and it's almost as if this was the plan all along. And as Scott Jennings said, we are not used to, as Americans, a president actually fulfilling his promise on day one and doing it every single day, day in and day out. And I think it's very important to note that statistically speaking, a majority of Americans are extremely happy that this is happening. So anyway, if you are still watching this video, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. We have so much work to do. And without you guys, none of this would be possible. So thank you again.